Yeah, broadcasting to all attendee. Yeah, we are live. Let's see. Nobody coming in yet. Talk along, and we are
Started?
Yep, let's get started.
All right, great, excellent. Well, hello everybody. My name is Kin. I'm the Chief Business Development Officer for Tomochain, and I'm honored to be the host for this very special AMA. Today we have with us 3 executives representing different blockchain-oriented businesses that are all interconnected. So I'll do a very quick introduction. So Hi Ho, who is the founder and CEO of Triip Protocol, a sustainable travel platform that has built a core function of its business on the Tomochain blockchain. We have Vuong, who is the founder and CEO of Tomochain and my boss. Tomochain is a fast and scalable blockchain technology focusing on DeFi and is powering dozens of businesses like Triip. And finally, we have Ethan, who is the CEO of BiKi SEA. BiKi is one of the fastest growing exchanges, and currently Tomochain is listed on them, and I'm really excited that this week they are listing Triip, or I believe Triip is going to be launching tomorrow morning, if I'm correct. So since this is a very special week for Triip, we're going to kick things off with them. So hi, I wanted to ask you, could you, for those people who are not aware right now, what is Triip? What is it trying to solve in the travel industry? And how does the TIM token, how does that kind of fit into this whole thing?
Yep. So Triip is a travel startup that's been starting since 2014. So we've been around for more than 6 years. And we enter the market, we're trying to solve a problem by first allowing every local around the world to become a tour guide. So that's our first core business. And we got VC funding, we keep growing until we realize a much bigger problem in the travel industry, which is the travel data. So like other startups, we struggle to find out who gonna travel to where and when. And this kind of data is not available publicly. It's only belong to a few big data monopolies around the world. And we saw, hey, if we have this problem, and I talked to a lot of other people in the travel industry too, they had the same problem. And that's how we came to an idea that we want to solve this problem because apparently this is the biggest issue in the travel industry. And that's how we started to build TriipMiles token and the Triip protocol on top of the blockchain foundations to allow to build a decentralized travel data marketplace. So it's simple. Every traveler should be able to own and monetize their own travel data. People think of like when you travel somewhere, you leave a tons of data with either wasted or being monetized by someone else. So that's what we do. And for the TriipMiles token, it's essentially it will power the entire ecosystem. When you want to exchange data, you use TriipMiles. When you want to buy data, you use TriipMiles. If you want to contribute and work and pay someone in another country, you use TriipMiles.
So you're basically including the ability for both travelers as well as those who are hosting accommodations to participate in the TriipMiles economy. So everyone gets to benefit. You're kind of cutting out that whole middleman structure. Is that right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Very cool. So can you tell us a little bit more about the current milestones and your plans for the rest of the year?
So I think right now we have started spending developing this project for the last 2 years. And honestly, when you're building a real product, it's tough. It's not easy to just get going. And we also have to build like the business side of the product, also of the blockchain side of the product. So on January 29, on January 2019, we'll be able to launch our alpha versions. And right now we have more than 200,000 users register using our platform. And we don't have to pay a single dollar on advertising. And lucky for us, in the last 3 months, even during the COVID time, which is considered the nuclear winter for the travel industry, we still grow 200% month over month in terms of user growth. And people are continue to share the data to our platform. So I think it is a great milestone that we'll be able to do. And right now, we're really excited that today we have a chance to first to sell a subscription price to a BiKi listing. Our subscriptions event was sold out in 3 minutes. So for a lot of other
3
people,
minutes.
yeah, it's a great achievement. But for us, it is a statement that our dreams to build a decentralized travel economy is finally have someone appreciate it and understand our vision. And whatever we say in the white paper is no longer a dream, but it's already a reality.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, during the time of COVID, a sustainable travel startup has actually been growing its user base in this way to 200%. You said that's pretty crazy. I mean, congratulations on that. So, on the technical side of things, why did Triip choose Tomochain as the blockchain of choice to implement your token?
So for us, as you can see, is that the travel industry have a lot of things that going cross border, and one of the key thing is when you are a traveler from America, you buy something in Asia, so you have to use your credit card with take 3.5%. So every time you buy something, it's 3.5%, and then you have to add up 1% for currency conversion. You pay US dollar, but the supplier gonna receive in Vietnam dong or Singapore dollar. So it's already 4%. And sometimes when you book a tour, it is like a $5 half day walking tour. So for a $5, it's already add up like 5%. And when it go down to the traveler, it costs a lot. And when we first started, we want to build on top of blockchains. So we're looking at like Ethereum, and we find out that the fee of Ethereum is kind of like also quite expensive when it coming to like $5. And sometimes for a $5 transaction, it doesn't go through. And when you make a booking, you want an instant confirmations. You don't want like to wait half an hour to receive a confirmation that, hey, you should just book a tour. So all of those things that we need, we realize that we need something fast, something with really a near zero fee. So we literally spent 6 months, like my CTO, myself, my engineering team, we talked to every single blockchain infrastructure available in the end of 2017. We talked to them, and we asked them, hey, where's your documentations? Where's your roadmap? When you're gonna launch your mainnet? So we do that for 6 months. And somehow we found Tomochain. So I don't think it's by accident, but it's because our hard work, we find the right partner. But there's also a luck there. Back then when we found Tomochain, Tomochain only have the testnet, and the mainnet gonna promise to coming in live in September or December. And luckily Tomochain keep the roadmap on time. So we'll be able to build on top of that.
Excellent, and I'm glad that, I think when it comes to Tomochain, certainly, I mean, being able to transact really quickly is important. You don't want to be waiting around for that. And I'm glad that at least the technical side of things, Tomochain was up to par for what you were looking for. So if let's shift gears and talk about BiKi a little bit here. So why is it that you decided to partner with BiKi Exchange? What is it about them that you found special, and and why did you choose to list here?
I think for BiKi, it is a different story, but also following the same way that we be able to work with Tomochain. So Ethan and I get to know each other when Ethan was still at Huobi, and then we talk. We just discuss casually, and we keep in contact. And then we just keep working, and I keep sharing our progress to Ethan, and then somehow he transferred to BiKi. But BiKi doesn't just say, hey, let's go and list on BiKi. Somehow Ethan suddenly watching us, just keeping us, okay, what's your update? And then once a while he asks the questions, how you doing, and how this thing. Especially during the COVID time, he asks even more questions. And one day, just like we've been dating for a while, and we both know that we like each other, we say, okay, let's get listing. And that's how it started.
Right, and sorry, I just want to add on some extra points about this for some insights as well. So since 2017, we have been, I've been watching Triip a lot, and I really respect a lot on this product development portion and emphasis on that. So for BiKi Exchange, we actually grow during the most difficult time. So in the bull market in 2018, we grow 200 to 300% month to month. And surprisingly, in the COVID situation, our trading volume actually grow by 300% as well. And especially we have a huge focus in the DeFi space right now, as we can see in the news, right? There's a huge uptake on the DeFi space right now. And so this is something really interesting, you see, because we are always growing in the most difficult time, surprisingly, for BiKi Exchange. And I asked myself and the team this question, look, so the COVID situation is here, right? And there's not too much of traveling, right? And so what happens when, this COVID situation recovers? And when it recovers, I'm very sure, the boom will come for the travel space. And that, to me, is the critical decision from the team that we need to prime in this case, what I would call the D-travel space, right? So we saw news from Traveler. I think I asked about this to Hi-Ho. And then what I anticipate, especially from the risk assessment side of things for this space, is when this recovers, I think we will be primed to push this even further. And Triip happened to be in a very unique situation because we have been looking for a very special project from Vietnam to incubate, to grow it on a global scale. And so Triip happens to fit most of our criteria for that. And my team and I are very, very excited to actually help Triip to grow on a global scale, especially with a huge emphasis towards the Korea, the Chinese market, and the Russian market, these three especially. Yeah.
It's really interesting to hear that. The fact is that both of you spent so much time kind of evaluating each other. For BiKi, you were evaluating Triip for an extended period of time to see kind of their product development roadmap, their milestones, and even looking at the market situation for when's the right time to launch. That kind of relationship I haven't really heard of that much when it comes to the exchanges that I've spoken with. Usually, obviously exchanges are looking for high quality projects and those which are continuing to build. But this definitely does seem like a long-term dating game that you guys were playing for quite a while before you decided to list. So that's really cool. So let's move over to Tomochain for a second. So Long, why don't you just give us a little bit of an introduction, a broader introduction than I gave to Tomochain blockchain for those people who don't know what Tomochain is.
Thank you, Kim. I think you already briefly introduced about Tomochain, which is a smart contract platform use our unique consensus mechanism called proof of stake voting. We also build some of the key protocols, such as Tomox for decentralized exchange, and Tomoz for issuing token, and Tomo privacy. These working together and seamlessly and helping a lot of projects and developers that can build upon Tomochain.
So when we talk about Triip specifically, Triip was Tomochain's first ICO. And now, after a couple of years, they're getting this listing on BiKi Exchange. So what does Triip's development progress and this listing mean to you and to Tomochain?
I have been knowing Hi-Ho, CEO of Triip protocol for a long time. And we are following Triip development for the last 2 years. And they did an excellent job of building product and acquiring user. Even though it's not easy because that's the travel industry, which the Triip protocol is in, was hit very hard by COVID virus. And I think that's why the Triip My Token listing is special. And I really, behind the Hi-Ho and the Triip protocol team to have the token list successfully and make the product even more successful in the future.
And
yeah, I think this is the first step. That's because also the Triip protocol user have also asking for an exchange listing for a long time, and I think this is a powerful move for both the project and also the community around the Triip protocol.
absolutely. And related to kind of the whole token aspect, I mean, what do you see as the core advantage for projects to use Tomochain, the Tomochain platform, in issuing their own tokens for their projects?
For issuing token, we have a standard called TRC21 using our old Tomochain protocol. So if you are a project or developer and you issue a token on top of Tomochain using Tomochain, you can pay fee using the token, which is a different if you are using the popular ERC20 standard on Ethereum. Because if you think about it, if you already use Tether or USDC, every time you send a stable coin, you have to have a little bit of Ether to pay for the gas fee. And it's not cheap. It can go up to like $1, $2 for every transaction. But if you use Tomochain, the fee can be in your token, and it's also very cheap. So I think it is a really good model for the project to issue token to consider Tomochain. And we are only available to help if there are any questions.
I want to jump in. Actually want to jumping in. Yes, paying fee not by our token is a pain that we have experienced. So before Tomochains were on TRC20, and we have been secretly like sending out Tomo to a lot of user wallet. But if you're looking at on dapp.com, our 24-hour transactions is in the top 50 in the world, like compared to 3,000 other DApp. So we use a lot of Tomo, and sometimes when it's run out too fast, we run out of Tomo, or the system doesn't send to the Tomo to the user fast enough, the entire transaction stop, and that's where a lot of people complain. So we've been like desperately trying to find way, and somehow when TRC21 launched, we convert to TRC21. This problem solved. Like I can sleep at night time.
Hey, I have something to add on about Dr. Long's comment also. I think is a very interesting aspect as well. So just now Dr. Long mentioned about Tomo X, and I don't think this conversation has ever happened in the space as well. So I just want to strike it off too. You see, like very recently, right, we see a huge amount of trading volume on Uniswap, right? And then we see a move from Poloniex, right, creating their Poloniex DEX, right? I think it's called Polo DEX, if I'm not wrong. And so Dr. Long, for sure, there's a very strong vision in this because the timing is really right. And I see quite a bit of a movement in terms of the decentralized exchanges coming in a bit. And I think, Tomo X is in a good space for this as well. So like, I just want to ask Dr. Long about this as well. Like, what are the key aspects that made this decision about to launch this Tomo X?
Thank you, Ethan. I think it's non-custodial exchange is one of the key part of the future because who's some centralized exchange like BiKi SEA. I think the people, especially like hardcore crypto people, they have the demand for holding their own key. And another advantage of have like open source decentralized exchange is that it's very easy to build upon the open source software. That's I think is a very strong advantage in favor of decentralized system. So I think Uniswap is a very successful product on top of Ethereum, and we have the equivalent is Tomo X and different decentralized upon Tomo X. So we released the product, I think 3 months ago, and some decentralized exchange like Tomodash, MangoDash, built by the community as already running. I think so we still focusing on fixing some of the UIs and UX issues to make it more user-friendly. And hopefully it can be really attractive to the end user and easy to use in the next maybe 2 or 3 months.
Okay. And sorry, I just think this is a very incredible opportunity to ask questions. Do it. So Hi-Ho, just now you mentioned about well, first of all, thanks Dr. Long for this. So just now Hi-Ho, you mentioned about DApps, right? And then so I just went to dapps.com to check it out on Tomochain's DApps as well, and also Triip being definitely, you know, one of the bigger ones. My question is basically like I mean, of course, in the last 3 to 6 months, we've seen a lot of DApps coming up, and then Triip is prime in a very, very good time and space, I would say, to do this. So like along with your decision to be, you know, riding on the Tomochain network, can you just share from your insights, right? Like when it comes to the DApps from, especially from Tomochain, like maybe you can share with the audience, you know, like where do you see the progress moving forward, especially when it comes to the DApps portion? You muted.
You're on mute.
Okay. Yeah, so I think right now, as we can see on the DApp space, there are still a lot of most games or gambling applications, which is like the first perfect applications for the blockchain market. But right now, like recently, we see I think a lot of more like DeFi applications that is coming up too. And I think it makes sense because you need to have like the foundation, the infrastructures. When a traditional start building a company, we take for granted on the financial infrastructure that already out there. There were credit card, there were bank transactions, all of these things. Developer don't have to worry again. But when they come to the blockchain world, you have to build everything from the beginning. But what I see in terms of the decentralized finance is the blockchain world is already moving faster, way faster than the traditional startup. And you want to build a peer-to-peer lending platform in any country. The first thing, legislations. The second things, how do you make sure that person gonna pay? And it's gonna come to a lot of crazy operations. But when you look at it, the blockchains, you put some collateral like Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Tomo, you can get a loan. And all of this thing is already out there. So I think right now we surpass a hit in terms of the decentralized finance, in terms of the blockchains. So what we're gonna see is a lot of applications like us. We will take this opportunity, we take all of this tool that are out there to bring our product straight into the decentralized finance. So in the past, we talk about allowing traveler to make a bookings using crypto. No, that was like 1.0. Right now, if a traveler want to make a booking for the hotel, but he doesn't have the money, 100 other guy can say, hey, I can loan you small amount of money so you can make your dream trips. And then you can pay back later. Or imagine a tour operator during the COVID time, they are great tour operator, but they need about like $5,000 to $10,000 to build up their program. Hey, can I make a loan? And then the moment they have customer again, the profit is automatically distributed back to own the lender. That's the vision that I'm thinking is gonna heading.
Oh man, this is exactly what I'm talking about, because this is also because of the key decision of why we want to list Triip as well. Because if you look at the financial industry, traditional industry, right? The financial industry is the core central part that facilitates supply chain, tourism, advertising, etc., right? And so if you look at the blockchain space, because I think we already discussed that the DeFi space is really ramping up right now, and because of the COVID situation as well, and when it recovers, and if DeFi space is still at this kind of momentum, I do see that it being in the center, it is going to help a lot more with the travel space. That's what I anticipate, and which is why I want to ask you, you know, like the previous question. So this connects with what I was thinking about too.
And this is coming from a real case. So we have a partner in the US. They were severely hit by the COVID, and until right now, the US is still going crazy. So she ran out of money, and I was like, "How can I help you?" It's like, I don't have money, so I just tell her like, "Okay, do you have friends that owe bitcoins? Can you borrow that bitcoin, and then I will help you to make a loan?" She said, "Can you do that?" I said, "Yes, you can do that." So I helped her through the process, and she said like, "Holy God, like there's no way I would be able to go to the bank right now and say, hey, I'm a travel company, give me a loan." Nobody gonna do that, but the DeFi help her by doing that. So for us, we saw all of this thing. And the second thing is, I'm also a board member of the Pacific Asia Travel Association. So we do a lot of research to send out to tour company, hotel company, to ask them, how long is your runway? Most of them say 3 months. I was like, you have a great year in 2019, but you only have like cash flow for 3 months. And most of the money that the hard money they earn, they put in the bank. And the bank in the US only give 1% interest per year. And even in Vietnam, it's 6%. So when the COVID came, the inflation coming, it basically they keep the money, they are losing the money. So we saw this and we think that is the thing we should solve.
And when it comes to, I mean, I think that it's very interesting because being able to integrate DeFi into Triip itself, I mean, that's kind of the entire purpose of TomoX is right now, sure, you have a current user interface experience like a traditional exchange, but being able to then later on, you'll be able to just directly place that right into Triip and then be able to help out your fellow travelers or those who are providing accommodations is going to be tremendous because I mean, you'll be able to levy credit. You'll be able to, whether you want to do collateral down the road, there'll be the ability to even allow for collateral-less loads. That's something that's being explored right now in the DeFi space. And this allows it so that, like you're saying, you don't have to go to the local bank. You can borrow and lend from anywhere in the world. And for travelers, that can be amazing. And I know because I've been in that same situation, going from hostel to hostel, month after month, living on very little money, and then saying, "Oh crap, I had $300 out of my pocket stolen one day," and I was like, I didn't have anything left. I was like, what am I going to do? I had internet, but there was no way for my mother to PayPal me any money. A bank transfer was not going to work because there was no local banking system that would actually allow for that. So I was really stuck. And I could imagine something like this would have really helped me at that time. This was about 10 years ago when I was in Burma, or Myanmar. So anyway, I think that's an amazing point. And I'm excited for when Triip does actually integrate that into its application. So Ethan, you actually explained a lot already about why you decided to work with Triip and to list them. So maybe what we could talk about is what do you think are the plans for your partnership with them moving forward? What do you want to see? How do you want to enable them? You were talking about incubation. So give us a little bit more about that.
Right. So look, I can skip the numbers of the number of Chinese, visitors coming to Vietnam. I think that's a given, right? So there's definitely a lot of exposure for that, especially when our core market is in the Chinese market. So one of the lower lying fruits is definitely to expose Triip and its products towards our users, and then driving all of that over to Triip to, of course, on the data side of things to help a lot. And of course, from there we can see better usage for the Triip app as well. So that's the lower lying fruit. But I think moving longer term, especially we would have our users using Biki tokens to integrate with Triip to be able to, for example, book hotels, etc. So that's like also another given. But more importantly, we would like to use our own networks to, what I meant by incubate is really by going from a low level all the way to a higher level in terms of branching out Triip's exposure towards the communities and the networks that we are very strong in already in Korea, in Russia, and in Chinese market, right? So this is the hardest thing to do, I would say, but then this is the only way we can do to actually help Triip to move even faster than it already is. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to that case study moving forward. I mean, that's something that I haven't seen that happening quite a bit in this space, and the fact that you guys have this synergetic relationship, you're willing to kind of go to bat for Triip and try to help them to expand like that. I'm really excited to see what happens over the next year or so. That's cool. So speaking of BiKi's plans, could you tell us a little bit more about your plans globally, and even since you are, I mean, Tomochain and Triip both originate from Vietnam. So what are your plans for Vietnam as well?
Sure. So on the global scale, we have launched our derivatives market, our futures contracts, and that is, the growth rate of that is huge, and we're still expanding a lot on that. And on top of that, we have lending product as well. You can use USDT to collateralize and borrow more. And then on top of that, we have the integration with Simplex, that you can use Vietnamese dong, or you can actually use like a ruble or anything to actually buy Bitcoin. So that's also one of the exciting launch that we have. And on top of that, we are using a new platform called Biki.cc to apply for a license in Singapore. The deadline's coming out real soon, and we're in the final stages of the application. So that's really exciting, because once we do that, then obviously as a headquarter here in Singapore, we will be able to expand much more progressively regionally as well, with here as a cornerstone. And with regards to Vietnam market, the start is with Tomochain, and then the start right now is also with Triip. We need to grow one serious project globally, and from there we will expand the user base, and then from there we will go much bigger. So originally the plans for the Vietnam market is for us to bring a lot of our incubator projects as well as our resources, such as VCs, such as blockchain firms and PR companies, for example, to bring over to Vietnam, like what I did last time for Blockchain Festival Vietnam with 1,600 attendees with 4P back then. So the original plan is to do a closed door kind of a tour to go to, for example, Tomochain's office, and to go to Midas Protocol's office and do a bit of visits. So the whole point is to actually bring a lot of these resources that BiKi has over to Vietnam to actually create more jobs, more opportunities. And that is, like, again, this is the most bottom line way of growing the market as well. So, until COVID situation recovers, then we can resume that plan. Yeah, and so yeah, that's generally our global and Vietnam market plans.
I guess just adding on to that, but why Vietnam of all places? I mean, obviously there are a number of other countries as well that you could focus on, but why Vietnam?
Wow.
Hard question.
No. I just want to cut the story short, man. Like, yeah, if we look at history, right? Like, obviously, the age of industrialization is definitely well captured by the United States, right? And then if we look at the internet industry, it's also very well captured by the United States. And suddenly, China actually used the mobile era, and they just skipped the whole internet portion. And then they are now spearheading and leading and innovating a lot. And so what I see, especially with Vietnam, because the statistics are so unique, the median age is, if I'm not wrong, 26 years old, right? The population is close to 100 million now. I think it's at 90 plus. And the top number one human resource, I think, the whole world would know, is Vietnam. Vietnam has a huge human resource for the tech space, right? And so, like, basically the stars align, right? And so I see that definitely Vietnam can use the blockchain technology as an opportunity to become one of the superpowers if it's done right. And we want to be part of that plan, right? And so we, by doing that, we have to create more jobs, we have to create more opportunities in the market. And so that's basically our long-term plan, and we want to see what are the rewards that can come in later on.
Absolutely. Even when I was researching Vietnam a couple of years ago, when you, even today, if you look at the powerhouses coming out of there in the blockchain space alone, Tomochain as the blockchain, Triip doing amazing things in travel. You have Kyber Network, in the DeFi space as well, and you have Axie Infinity in the gaming space. All are coming from Vietnam, and I don't think most people may not even realize that. So there's a lot of amazing developer talent in Vietnam. On top of that, there is a certain mindset, entrepreneurial mindset, always looking for opportunities where they can really make a mark. And I've been really amazed, especially having been working with Tomochain directly for a year in Vietnam and having met so many amazing people there. There is a real drive, and and so placing a bet, I completely agree that it's a core place to be for the next bull run moving forward. So if we're going to kind of wrap up about Triip, Ethan, let's actually talk about the options and directions of blockchain powered travel space. That very specific space that Triip is focusing on. What are your thoughts about that?
All right, so that is probably why we have the context of Dr. Long to be in this conversation as well, because obviously he has a very strong vision and is a pioneer in this space, and we can look at where Tomochain is right now. Of course, his anticipation and all the hard work is coming off right now with the milestones and the results that we are looking at today, right? So and I see Triip is a super pioneer in this space, right? And if we actually obviously the expansion is done correctly, then I think Triip is going to be really huge once the DeFi space pick off to mature even more, right? So I think earlier on in the conversation we really saw the CoinDesk article with Travala, and then Triip has nailed down a very, very phenomenal deal with Agoda, which is easily Asia's biggest hotel booking portal. And so if wait, I just lost my chain of thoughts. With some insights that Hai-Ho just shared along as well, I think the features that he mentioned are just seriously just the tip of the iceberg. And I'm very sure Hai-Ho has a lot of things up his sleeve with regards to doing more launches in upcoming future. Again, with the milestones that I mentioned with the DeFi space, and then following up with the travel space, right? So integrating and working with hotels is definitely one of the things. I think we saw startups like Klook also becoming big very recently as well, right? So I see the decentralized space for travel is going to be hitting the right path of getting the mass adoption, probably in the next 2 or 3 years or so. And that's, I think, the new model that we can see besides expenditure in the tourism space. But I think for the first time, we can actually see mass users being able to monetize, I think, like what Hai-Ho mentioned. And that's the most interesting part. Again, I don't have a lot of insights about this as much as what Hai-Ho has, but I'm very sure there's a lot of things he has up his sleeve in terms of product launches, and that is what we are very, very excited about.
Yeah, when we were talking just the other day about Triip, what I was pretty amazed about was the restructuring, the thought process of structuring a traditional business, e-commerce business, as a blockchain powered business. And it was a very different way of thinking about things. He kind of signaled some things when it comes to how you can do borrowing and lending using blockchain, but even structuring the organization, being able to hire people from around the world, where you don't have to. I think Hai, you could probably expand on this better than I could from our conversation the other day. But maybe you can give us a little more insight when you think about travel, when you think about using blockchain powering Triip, and structuring a business around it. Some of your core thoughts or core ideas around doing that.
So I think blockchain is just about a better way to operate a people power community. Like Biki is a people power exchange. We are people power travel company. So in the beginning, we will have like local guys in 100 country contributing to design tour. But for us, even I love someone so much, I couldn't put 100 people in 100 country in the shareholder list of trip company in Singapore. It's gonna go crazy. But right now, I can just like every people on the Trip platform own the TriipMiles, which represents the value of the company. So for us, that is a great opportunity to build it up. And in terms of the teams, we also take this time to learn how to we decentralize the company. Myself, I was thinking like, if you build a decentralized travel platform and your company is still a centralized company, that is not like walk the talk. So you have to decentralize how you run the organization first. Then you start to decentralize. So right now, Triip is doing, we're experimenting how to build like a decentralized autonomous organizations. That's tough, but that's where we prepare ourselves last year until now. And those are the things that the community don't see behind, but we just do it anyway because we believe that when the team member understand, they have the power to make decision over products, they have the power to own a part of the company, then they will be able to transfer this inspiration to the team member, to the community out there. So luckily for us, like we have guys like Crypto Jones from Crypto Jones came from Africa, just coming and say, hey, I want to help you guys. We have like Adija from Indonesia. We have a tons of people from Russia, like on the platform, but we don't even speak Russians. So we see that if you give everyone a piece of the community, of the value of the product, they will become very loyal. They're going to be something great. And history has been proven that there's no single company that will be able to master the whole market. We saw Uber, once a giant, operating in so many countries. Now they have to scale back, and even for Airbnb. And so I think we don't have to learn a lot of things. As long as you give power to the people, that's the best product, and that's the one that's gonna last the longest.
Yeah, and that's that mindset of how do you shift into that more decentralized mindset. And I think that Hai and Triip have really been thinking through that process quite a bit, far more in depth than I've seen other people who just want to plug and play. You just plug blockchain into a traditional business and there you go. Now there's some value. It doesn't work like that. And so thinking that entire step-by-step process in a very deep fashion that really is quite innovative today. Hats off to him and his team for doing that. And I was really impressed when we were discussing about that just the other day as well. So I was looking through the questions that were kind of coming in. So I thought maybe we could ask one of those questions before we get off. So for one thing, I think this was an interesting question. So, there have been many blockchain projects, with the different ideas like Triip and Trivala. I guess maybe one thing that the user's asking is, what are the main differences between, say, Triip and Trivala and other potential, other travel-based projects that have been tried in the past? And beyond the difference, what is the plan for attracting new users? How do we get new people to use Triip and to be excited about it and to use it when COVID situation kind of disappears and people can start traveling again?
So I think it comes straight when you go to the homepage. When the other website, the other travel project, you go there and you spend your money. But when you go to Triip, you come here to earn money first, and then you can travel later. So we really focusing on helping people earn money. How do you earn money? Well, if you have nothing, well, if you have no money, you always have your data, and your data is money. So trade your data and earn money from Triip and then travel. And if you say that you still don't have money, well, work with us. So Triips allow people to become local guide, to become driver, to become translator. So you can actually come here and participate as a full economy. You don't just come here and enjoy travel with Triip. You come here, you work in this economy. So that's make it very, very different from everyone else in the market right now. And that's why even when the COVID came, nobody travel, but people still working at Triip. by referring their friend to join the community, by sharing their data, their future travel. All of those things make them come back and stay back with Triip. And for us, what we're gonna attract seeing the user, I think we are lucky. We are lucky to find the formula that we're still growing in the last few months. People coming in, they invite their friends. Business coming in, invite their other business friends to join Triip. So we're gonna really focusing on that. But one thing I want to mention, I want to remind over and over again, we are a sustainable travel platform. So whatever we do, we will spend a huge part of our business, our product, to contribute to the environment. We here to remind that tomorrow there'll be another virus. The next few years there will be another climate extreme that gonna wipe out maybe half of the humankind. If all of those things happening, there's no travel because there's no human. So for us, we keep our core missions that we want to make sure that we use blockchains. We're gonna take 1% of every booking available going to Triip platform to contribute to our climate emergency fund. So we want to compete and we want to pioneer the best in this field. And if somehow Travala and other travel companies say, hey, I want to do the same, I got to take 1% of whatever booking go through to contribute to this platform, I think that's great because in these competitions, everybody win.
Well said.
No, yeah, you're giving back to the community and you're letting them to participate in trying to help with the whole sustainable travel, helping with the ecosystem, contributing to that kind of fund. And it's also transparent and provable too, right? You know, you'll actually be able to see when you're contributing on the blockchain, you'll be able to actually see how the contribution is being used. And that's really cool. So I think, you know, that closes up all the questions that I can see. Are there any other things that the three of you would like to talk about or ask each other at this point before we close up shop?
Yeah, I'm good, man.
Well, good. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you everyone for participating in this. This was quite exciting. Again, I'm quite honored to have been to hosting the three of you. This was really fun. So if there are any other questions, I think let's maybe what we can do is just tell people where they can find us. So on Twitter and on Telegram, maybe you could just for any follow-up questions and things like that. So Ethan, where can the people here who are watching this video, where can they find you guys?
You can just easily go Telegram and search for BiKi Vietnam. We have a huge community over there, so we can engage with you for any inquiries.
And I think for trips, it's the same beside Telegram. I think tomorrow we're gonna have another AMA with Tomochain, where you can find more information about why we build Triip, which is a much longer time, because I know Dr. Long, Vuong, and Ethan is busy, so we only be able to keep them for 1 hour. But I will be on the on Telegram, and I think we all take Telegram for granted. To be honest, I never be able to find such other like communication platform that were efficiency that built for the people just like Telegram. And last but not least, also let's spend a minute to think about the people who create blockchains. A lot of people ask like, why blockchain worth $9,000? Why is coming up? People do not think buy Bitcoin then it going up. But behind Bitcoins is an endless hour of developer, of people who promoting Bitcoin to share the Bitcoin. And even for what we're doing now, for all the audience, you are watching this AMA, you are contributing to have small project like Triip, to have BiKi, to have Tomo, to have an audience to be heard. And that's all of this thing will drive like TriipMiles price or any other crypto price. It's happened because of what we're doing right now. It's not just because you buy something and then it's gonna go up tomorrow.
I love that. I love that. And Long, where can our community or the community find us?
Please go to our forum at forum.tomochain.com to join the discussion, or you can go to visit our website or our Telegram chat. We are always available, and the community are always there to discuss anything Tomochain related.
The forum has recently launched as of a few weeks ago. And we've kind of shifted a lot of our conversation over there. Maybe since people will be going there to kind of look for it, what do you think? What do you think people will can do when they go to the forum? What's the purpose of it? Why did we launch it?
I think we started with a Telegram chat. Like most of the projects have Telegram chats, but then the chat is good for a short chat, right? Discussing things going on. But if you want to have more meaningful conversation, a longer text, then you go to the forum. Then we have the discussion about Tomochain governance protocol. We have the discussion of how to improving Tomodax and Tomoice protocol. So both have the purpose, and you can choose which one to go to. The team are available in both places.
Absolutely. And someone asked where the forum is, so you can go to forum.tomochain.com to participate in that. So again, thank you all very much for the time. This was an exciting AMA. And we're also, again, congratulations on the listing, Triip and BiKi. I think this is going to be an amazing relationship between the two of you. Clearly, we're also excited to continue to partner with you on future initiatives as well. Really excited for it. So thank you all, and thank you everyone for participating and joining in this chat, listening to all the panelists here, and have a wonderful day, wonderful night, wherever you are.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good night and stay safe, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Yeah. Bye bye. Good night.